Hello, I'm Richard A. Bottrell. Welcome to the Unofficial British Artists Top 20. Now, based on feedback, I'm actually changing the format a tiny little bit from this episode onwards. So, firstly, I'm going to do my intro, which is the bit I'm doing now. This is the intro, in case that's not obvious. And then I'm going to do a countdown, just the countdown of the top 20 without a commentary. And I've actually done a little bit of music to go in the background, so you know it's the countdown. After that, I shall do my commentary, and then after that, I shall do a little album review. So, let's get started immediately with this week's Top 20. Brand new at number 20, it's Central C featuring J Hus and Slaughter. Brand new entry at number 19, Fred Again and Jamie T, Lights Burn Dimmer. At number 18, it's down 4 for The Cure with Boys Don't Cry. At 17, it's down 5 for Sienna Spiro, You Stole the Show. The brand new entry for Central C at number 16 with Iceman Freestyle. And then it's down 2 for Fleetwood Mac at number 15 with Landslide. First of 3 brand new entries for Charli XCX at number 14 with Always Everywhere. And at number 13, it's Smile Smith and Niall Horan with Drive Safe. That's down 2 places. At 12, it's Sienna Spiro with Die on This Hill, that's down 5. Number 11, it's Charli XCX, Dying for You, new entry. At number 10, it's a non-mover for Sonny, Fodera, DOD and Baskcomb with Think About Us. And it's also a non-mover at number 9 with Olivia Dean and A Couple of Minutes. The final of the 3 new entries for Charli XCX is at number 8 with a song called Chains of Love. At number 7, it's down 5 for RAYE, Where Is My Husband? Last week's number 1 is this week's number 6, that's down 5 places, Dave and Tems with Raindance. Harry Styles' Aperture is up 3 to number 5. Pink Pantheress' Stateside is up 2 to number 4. Olivia Dean, Man I Need is up 2 to number 3. And number 2 is also Olivia Dean with So Easy to Fall in Love, that's up 2 places. And finally, this week's number 1 is Sam Fender and Olivia Dean, up 2 places with Rein Me In. There we go, and now we're into the commentary bit. You can tell because the music has stopped in the background. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the chart. So first thing, there's the items that have left the chart. 3 that didn't particularly disappoint me. They'd only been in the chart for 1 week and were basically only there because they've been in the official top 100 for a long time, and they were only in my top 20 because there were so few other British singles up there. So they were Fleetwood Mac's Dreams, Lola Young's Messy. I do love the song, but it was just, it was just there because it's been in the top 100 a long time. And Sienna Spiro's Maybe. So they were 18, 19 and 20 last week. So they've been knocked out. Then the next thing that's dropped out this week was Harry Styles, As It Was. It was number 17. Well, the highest position it obtained, should I say, was number 17, which I think is where it was as well last week. It was only in there for 3 weeks. It basically came in when Aperture, his current song, entered the chart. Haven featuring Caitlin Aragon, I Run, best position was number 9, been in the chart for 3 weeks. And then the other song that's dropped out, and this is the one that slightly disappointed me actually, was the Calvin Harris and Kasabian track. I'm just looking through because my notes are incomplete. That was at number 15 last week. First week on the chart and it's already dropped out. So that's a bit of a shame. Looking at the other bits and pieces of information. So I need to check, but I'm guessing Central C has got a new album out because he's got 2 new entries this week. So his collaboration with J Hus, Slaughter, came in at number 20, and Iceman Freestyle, which is a solo track, came in at number 16. There was also Fred Again and Jamie T, a track called Lights Burn Dimmer. That's in at number 19. I like Fred Again because he's a producer and he works with so many different artists. A lot of his songs sound really, really different. So you never know exactly what you're going to get. And I think that's really cool. So that's 3 of the new entries this week. And the others, of course, were, as anticipated, Charli XCX. But what I will say is I thought she'd do better than that. So in my chart, she's come in at 8, 11 and 14. Those are the 3 singles or tracks from her new album Wuthering Heights that have made it into the top 20. I genuinely thought she'd probably do better. I was really hoping she would do a lot better than that. And if you actually look at the official top 100, the highest entry is at number 17. And I was hoping for a lot better than that, but never mind. So that's slightly disappointing. Other things to have a quick look at. Let me see. Harry Styles has gone up in my chart. In fact, basically, a lot of stuff has dropped down. So things like Dave and Tems and RAYE, unfortunately, have dropped down, as has Sienna, Spiro. And they've made way at the top of the chart for, well, she's got a bit of a... Olivia Dean has got a bit of a hat trick. So she's at number 1 with her collaboration with Sam Fender, which is also the official chart number 1, by the way. It's not just the best-selling British artist this week. It's the best-selling song this week, period. And although it's been around for quite a long time, it's actually the first time that song has gone to number 1. So that's really good. And then so Olivia Dean is number 2 and 3 with So Easy to Fall in Love and Man I Need. But yeah, so... I was a bit disappointed by the Charli XCX. I wanted her to do better. I'm not disappointed in the album. I'll come on to that in a minute. But I genuinely wanted her to do better. So before I do my album review, I'm going to have a quick look at top 10, top 20 and top 40 penetration. So in the top 10, now we're talking about the official charts from this point onwards. In the official chart, 5 out of the 10 tracks in the top 10 were by British artists. That's actually down 10% on last week. So last week, 6 out of the 10 were British. But then, I've been tracking this for a long time. It's got as low as 1 before. So, that's still pretty good. It's still half the songs. The official top 20, 9 out of the 20 tracks are by British artists. That's 45%, and that's basically the same as last week. And then thanks to basically Charli XCX and Central C, 17 out of the top 40, the official top 40, were British artists. That's up 5% on last week. So that's a bit of an improvement, but still not as good as the high point, which was when I started this 4 weeks ago, when it was slightly over 50%. Another thing worth noting is that the bottom number of my chart, so number 20, which is Central C featuring J Hus with Slaughter, although it's number 20 in my chart, it's actually number 54 in the official top 100. But that's better, actually, than last week, because last week, number 20, the bottom of this, my personal chart, was number 65 in the official chart. So that's that. I'm not aware of anything as interesting as Charli XCX coming out next week, so I don't think it'll be quite as good. In terms of new entries and bits and pieces. In fact, I really hope, as people listen to the Charli XCX, that rises up the chart, or something I'm really not expecting dives in, because after a really good start to the year, this all feels a bit bland and samey, and the new stuff seems to be dropping out again quite quickly. Anyway, that was that. Now here's my thoughts on the new album, Wuthering Heights by Charli XCX. As you may or may not know, Wuthering Heights is actually an album that is also the official soundtrack to the new movie of the same name, directed by, is it Scarlett Fennell? Yeah, I think so. And so I was curious, to be honest with you, how this would work. It seemed like a curious move for it to be an original soundtrack, as Charli XCX's follow-up to Brat, which was the 2024 smash album. It was my album of the year, not because it was my favourite album, but clearly it was massively influential. It was everywhere. So many of the songs charted. And I was interested to see what Charli XCX would do next. And what I found particularly interesting about this album is that it wasn't the obvious thing to do. She's gone for something very, very tonally different. There are moments where it resembles the kind of music she did for Brat, and there are moments where it really feels like its own thing. So the first question I want to answer is, does it stand up as an album? It's an official soundtrack. Do I need to have seen the movie to appreciate the album? The honest answer is actually no. I half expected that you would have to, and I was prepared to go and see the movie in the run-up to this before I wrote this review, but I didn't feel I needed to. Okay, stylistically there are some things that are quite different about it. there's a lot more orchestral stuff, particularly in the first couple of tracks. It isn't until track 3 that we get, you know, the bass line and the beats that you associate with Charli XCX. And even then, they are much more restrained than they were on Brat. The opening track is called House, and it's a real odd track. It's got these moody strings at the beginning, and the first voice we hear isn't Charli XCX, it's that of John Cale. Now, when I first listened to it, I'm not going to lie, I assumed, you know, movie soundtrack, this is an actor from the film, and this audio is audio from the film. But actually, it isn't. John Cale is a Welsh musician and also a founding member of the American rock band 9 Inch Nails. And curiously, we don't hear Charli XCX's voice until well into the track. John Cale doesn't sing. He's basically reciting a quite creepy poem. It's not quite as dark and creepy as, say, I don't know, the audio bit in the Thriller song by Michael Jackson. But it is kind of creepy nonetheless. Then just over halfway through the song, Charli XCX comes in with just repeating the lyrics, "I think I'm going to die in this house," over and over again to rising intensity. Presumably it's a metaphor for entrapment, but it's surprisingly good. You know, I sat there listening to it, and as she started going, "I think I'm going to die in this house," her voice is slightly distorted, think sombre, but it just gets more and more intense. And I'm not going to lie, I think it's a genius opening track. I absolutely loved it. There is a music video available for this, which I also watched. It just adds to it. It's a really, really good song. This new stringy style carries on into the next track, which is called Wall of Sound, which is another pretty decent offering. And it isn't until Dying for You, track 3, that we get what we expect from Charli XCX, you know, synth and bass. And then the album does continue more in a vein that I would argue is traditionally Charli XCX. But there's some genuinely amazing songs on here. 2 of them have music videos, which again I watched, Always Everywhere and Chains of Love. I absolutely love the Chains of Love video. It's insane, but it's really good. And the whole album just builds in an unexpected way into this wonderful climax. There's a wonderful song at the end called Funny Mouth. Just go and listen to it. I'm not going to explain why or whatever. I'm not sure I actually know why. But I honestly thought this was a really brave album. As I say, what really surprised me was that it does stand up. You don't have to have seen the movie. I might go and see the movie now to see where they've inserted these tracks, but it absolutely does stand up as a pop album. What was really interesting is I watched the artist interviewed on a YouTube video, and she actually hadn't seen the movie. They hadn't shot any scenes when they started working on this. So she was contacted by the director and asked to do the soundtrack for it. But at that point, there was just a script. So, you know, and it was also actually the formation started while she was in the middle of all the press stuff for Brat. So it was, you know, Brat was still a huge thing at that point. So she started this in 2024. So all of these things, I genuinely have got some respect for the artist on this, because it would have been very, very easy just to go in a similar direction to what worked before, and she absolutely hasn't done that here. It's melancholy, it's deep, it's got some amazing lyrics. The music videos that have been made are gorgeous. I'm not sure this is going to be the massive hit that Brat was. I think the fact that the singles, or the 3 tracks that have entered the charts, entered as low as they did, I think it's a sign maybe that it wasn't entirely what people were expecting. But do you know what? I think it's a really sensible move to do something that takes you out. She wanted something totally different. She's absolutely delivered something totally different, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting to as much as I did. Go and listen to House, the opening track featuring John Cale. It's really, really good. Right, that's it. That's it for the show. That's my commentary on the charts. That's my thoughts on a new release album. And the news, of course, is that it also hit number 1. So when I decided to review this, I knew it would chart, but I didn't know it would become the number 1 album. So although the single aspects of it haven't done really well, it has gone in as the number 1 album this week. I don't know what album I'm going to review next week, to be honest. I'm looking through the list and there's nothing that jumps out at me as something that's going to obviously, hit the top 10. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick something new that isn't a reissue or anything like that, that's by a British artist, listen to it, give you my thoughts, and we'll see how well it does. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you have got any feedback or would like to contact me, you can find all of my contact details on my Linktree. Just type in Linktree Richard Wrights, capital R, capital W. You can also listen to my almost daily writing podcast, The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. Just search for that. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back at a similar time next week. Bye-bye.